My mill planned for my ex-wife to ditch me and the Bobbies until we appeared on live TV. I should have known something was wrong the day she stopped kissing me goodbye. Not in some dramatic storming off kind of way. Margaret didn't do drama, but in that quiet, calculated absence. The kind that makes you stop in the middle of folding laundry and think, wait, when did she stop doing that? I used to get a kiss on the shoulder if my hands were full, a kiss to the back of my neck while I made oatmeal for the twins, a kiss on the cheek when she thought I was asleep but wanted to say goodbye anyway. But those moments disappeared like socks in the dryer, one by one until you don't even remember what the full set looked like. And then the phone, always face down, always. I remember watching her one night after dinner. She was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling, thumb twitching in a rhythm I couldn't read. The twins were asleep finally, and the silence between us felt like a chasm. I asked her something simple. I think it was about groceries. She said, like I was interrupting something more important, and I guess I was. She started showering late at night, too. We used to go to bed together, exhausted but still trying to steal an hour to talk or argue or just lie there in shared silence. Now she'd wait until I was in bed, then go into the bathroom and turn on the fan. The fan was always on. I could never hear the water, just the mechanical hum of that stupid vent. Some nights I'd fall asleep before she came out. Other nights I'd pretend to sleep and wait, trying to time how long she was in there. 20 minutes. 40 an hour. One night I got up, knocked on the door and asked if she was okay. She opened it a crack, said just needed time to think, and closed it again. I didn't ask what she needed to think about. I wish I had, but I was too tired. We were both too tired. Everything was a negotiation, sleep time, love. And I thought maybe if I just gave her space, she'd come back on her own. That's what you do when you're married, right? You wait, you give grace. You absorb the distance and pray it doesn't become permanent. But I think it already had. I was up before the sun the day she left. Owen was crying first. He always cried first. He's louder than Ellie, more dramatic, more visceral. Ellie kind of whines and builds up to a cry. Owen comes out swinging like being awake is an affront to his entire being. I padded barefoot into the nursery, picked him up, pressed his body against my chest. He was hot and sticky with sleep, and I could smell that sour milk scent that Bobbies always have first thing in the morning. I rocked him, humming something tuneless, just to keep him from waking Ellie. The house was cold, too quiet. I remember noticing the silence in the kitchen first, no clatter of mugs, no water boiling. Margaret always made coffee first. Even when she was barely speaking to me, she made coffee. It was almost ritual. I got this sick feeling in my stomach, like someone had reached into my gut and twisted. I didn't even know why yet, I just knew something was off. I checked the bedroom. The bed was empty, clean, too clean. Her pillow was fluffed, her side of the sheets untouched. The closet door was cracked open, and I knew before I looked, knew before I even stepped in. Half the hangers were bare. Her shoes, the fancy ones she never wore anymore, were gone. Her jewelry box was missing, the drawer that never quite shut all the way now fully closed. I remember standing there, Owen squirming in my arms, thinking maybe she just went out early, maybe she needed air, maybe she took the kids' birth certificates because she was registering them for something. Maybe she packed a bag because she needed a break. And then I saw it. A yellow sticky note on the counter, stuck there like it belonged next to the unpaid gas bill and the pile of unopened mail. Her handwriting sharp and neat like a schoolteacher, 4 words. You'll be better off. That's all. No, I love you. No, I'm sorry. No explanation. Just that smug, vague line that could mean anything or nothing. I wanted to rip it up, burn it, eat it, anything to make it not real, but I couldn't even move. My feet were cold on the linoleum, and Owen was crying again, and somewhere behind me, Ellie had started up too. I sat down on the kitchen floor, Bobby's wailing in stereo, the note burning in my periphery. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I just kept holding him tighter and tighter until he stopped squirming and started to hiccup cry against my neck. My shirt was soaked through with milk and sweat and whatever the hell else coats you when you're a parent. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours in a row in 4 months. I hadn't touched my wife in 6 weeks, and now I was here alone with no answers. I must have called her, I think I did, once, straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. What was I supposed to say? Come back, you forgot your toothbrush, I can't do this alone. Then I called her mother. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting. You knew this was coming, she said. No hello, no concern, just that. Her voice was ice. And then the line went dead. I stared at my phone for a long time. The screen dimmed, went black, and I just kept looking at it like it might glow again with a message that would make all of this make sense. But nothing came. It was just me and the bobbies and the note. I don't remember the rest of that morning. I think I fed them, I must have. I think I put them in clean onesies and changed their diapers and walked them around the living room like I always did. I probably turned on the TV to drown out the silence, but I couldn't tell you what was playing. What I remember, what stays with me like a bruise under the skin, is the way the sunlight came through the window around 9 a.m., catching the dust in the air like glitter. I stood there holding Ellie while Owen lay on the playmat, and I thought, this is it. This is the moment everything broke. And it didn't break like a plate shattering on tile. It broke like a tendon snapping in your knee, quiet, internal, sudden. You don't even notice it at first. You just collapse. You reach for something and find there's nothing holding you up anymore. That's what it felt like. A slow fall I couldn't stop. No sound, no fight, just absence. And in that silence, I started to understand. She hadn't just left. She planned this. And that was the part that hollowed me out completely. I didn't eat for 2 days, that's not an exaggeration. I'd open the fridge, stare at a half carton of eggs and a bottle of ketchup, and just close it again. Hunger felt abstract, like something that belonged to a past version of me, the one who used to care if toast was overdone or if the coffee was strong enough. Now food was just fuel I forgot to put in the tank. The twins ate, I made sure of that. They didn't ask for any of this. Didn't know their mother was gone, didn't know the world had tilted on its axis and landed hard on top of their father. They just cried, shit, screamed, laughed, slept, laughed sometimes. I hated them a little for that, for being able to laugh when everything in me felt like it was unraveling thread by thread. The days blurred. Owen had colic. Ellie had this rash on her shoulder that I kept forgetting to call the pediatrician about. I tried Googling it, but the anxiety spiral was too steep. I was sure it was staph or cancer or some rare allergic reaction to the detergent Margaret insisted on switching to a month before she ghosted us. I stayed up all night just watching them breathe. Making sure their chests rose and fell, that their hands stayed warm, that their little hearts hadn't broken too from the vacuum she left behind. I don't know what was harder, the silence or the pretending. I had to pretend for the kids, for the social worker who showed up one day because apparently Margaret had told someone I wasn't stable. That was the word she used, unstable. I wanted to laugh when the woman asked if I had a support system. Sure, I said, I've got an espresso machine and a video baby monitor. They've been real solid lately. She didn't laugh. But she saw the kids clean, fed, smiling. She saw the fridge, which by then I'd managed to restock after selling my guitar and a stack of Margaret's untouched wellness books. I made sure everything looked fine, safe, livable. I made sure I looked fine too, showered, shaved, clear-eyed enough to pass the test. But inside I was screaming all the time. I kept going through her things or what little she left behind, trying to find a clue. A letter, a message, a password scribbled on the back of a receipt, something, anything, but Margaret was too precise. If she left it, it was because she wanted me to find it. If it wasn't there, it was because she didn't want to be found. Her mother didn't answer my calls after that first one. I left a message, just one. I hope you're happy, I said. I hope whatever you told her makes you sleep easier at night. No reply. I started walking a lot, with the twins strapped to my chest in that double carrier Margaret hated because it made her back ache. I'd walk until they fell asleep, then sit on a bench near the duck pond and just breathe, try to remember how it felt to be a person before everything became about survival. Sometimes I saw other parents' couples, mostly, holding hands, sipping coffee, pushing strollers that cost more than our rent. I used to hate them, but eventually I stopped caring. Envy takes energy I didn't have. That's when Ray reached out. I hadn't seen her in years, since college maybe. She'd been in a few of my music classes, played keys. We jammed once in a garage band that fell apart faster than it came together. She messaged me on Facebook of all places. Said she saw a post a friend of a friend had shared, something about single dads, about how invisible we are. Said she thought of me. Said she was working on a segment for the morning show she produced and asked if I wanted to talk. At first, I said no. No one wants to hear about another broken man, I typed, then deleted. Instead, I told her I'd think about it. The truth, I didn't want people to see me like this. Not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't want pity. I didn't want anyone looking at me with that soft-eyed, tragic look that said, wow, he's doing his best, like I was a dog learning to walk on two legs. But Ray wasn't like that. She said, it's not about pity, it's about presence, about showing people what it looks like when you stay. That got me. When you stay. Because Margaret didn't, her mother sure as hell didn't. Everyone else had backed off or gone quiet, but I stayed, even when I didn't know how to, even when I was just going through the motions like a ghost in his own house. So I said yes. Ray came over a week later with a camera person and a mic clipped to my collar. The bobbies were fussy, of course they were, and the apartment smelled like spit up and old bananas. I apologized, tried to clean up, but Ray just smiled and said, this is real, that's what we want. We filmed for 2 hours. I didn't try to be poetic. I didn't sugarcoat. I talked about diapers, about fear, about the night I fell asleep sitting on the toilet because it was the only room with a lock. I talked about waking up with one baby on my chest and the other in a bassinet, unsure how either of them got there. I talked about loving someone who walked away and still missing the version of her who used to sit on the floor with me at 2 a.m. playing guess which twin will explode first. I didn't cry, not on camera, but after they left, after Ray hugged me and told me I was brave, which I hated hearing but sort of needed, I cried like something had cracked open inside. Not a dramatic sob, just a long, low ache that poured out of me in the dark while the bobbies slept. We went live the following Tuesday. And that's when everything shifted, not for the better, not yet. But the past, it started waking up. And it wasn't done with me. I didn't expect her to see the segment, but of course she did, of course they both did. I think I knew it the moment it aired. Ray had done a beautiful job with it, kept it simple, raw, just me, the twins, the apartment, no dramatic voiceovers or swelling music, just us. I watched it once, only once. And it broke me, seeing myself on screen, hollow-eyed, hair unwashed, dark circles like bruises under my eyes, cradling Ellie while Owen spit up down the front of my shirt was like watching someone else's life. A man who'd aged 10 years in 4 months. A man still standing but barely. The messages came in immediately after. Strangers, friends I hadn't heard from in years. A few of Margaret's old coworkers even reached out. One said, I never knew she'd leave you like that. We all thought you were solid. Yeah, so did I. 3 days later, the doorbell rang. I thought maybe it was Ray or the UPS guy dropping off diapers, but when I looked through the peephole, my stomach turned. Her? Not Margaret, her. Margaret's mother. Fucking immaculate as always, beige wool coat, pearl earrings, lipstick not a smudge out of place. I had Owen in my arms, he was half napping, head heavy on my shoulder, and I didn't want to open the door. Every cell in my body screamed, don't give her space to speak. But I was tired of avoiding ghosts. I was tired of being afraid. So I opened it. She didn't smile. She didn't even look at Owen, who blinked at her like she was just another shape in the doorway. Can I come in? She asked. I said nothing. She stepped inside anyway. The audacity. She looked around like she was inspecting the place. Not with judgment, no, worse than that, with ownership, like she had a stake in what was left of my life, like she'd contributed to it. It's smaller than I thought, she said. I laughed, a dry, humorless thing that scratched my throat. You here to offer decorating tips. I saw the segment. Of course you did. She paced a little, slow steps like she was walking on eggshells or pretending to. You made a spectacle of yourself. There it was, the dig, she couldn't help herself. I adjusted Owen, felt his soft weight shift against me, grounding me. Glad you saw it, I said. She turned to me, arms crossed, like she was gearing up to deliver a line she'd rehearsed 100 times in a mirror. She's not coming back. As I know. Silence thickened. It sat between us, sharp and heavy like broken glass. Then she said it. The thing that cracked something in me I hadn't even known was still intact. It was my idea. I didn't understand at first. I blinked. What? She wasn't strong enough to leave you, so I gave her a way out. My throat dried, my heart didn't drop, it imploded. I tightened my grip on Owen because if I didn't, I would have flung something, screamed, broken a window just to match the noise in my head. You planned this. She didn't flinch. She was drowning and so were you. You were never a match. You held her back. I took a step toward her. My voice didn't rise, but something in it must have shifted because she stopped moving. You convinced your daughter to abandon her husband, her kids, her life. She chose peace, she said. Don't pretend you were happy. She cried to me for months, said she couldn't breathe in this apartment, said you were checked out. Of course I was checked out. I was working 2 jobs and raising twins. She shut me out and you handed her an exit plan like a fucking vacation brochure. And she deserved a better life. She had one. No, she snapped, she had you. And there it was, the truth, the judgment, the contempt she never bothered to hide, dressed up in concern. She didn't just dislike me, she wanted me erased. She wanted to rewrite the story with herself as the savior and me as the villain. I set Owen down in his bouncer. My hands were shaking, but I didn't back down. You think I'm flailing, I said, stepping closer. You think I'm pathetic, but I'm still here. I feed them. I rock them through fevers and scream-filled nights. I show up every goddamn morning, alone, without help, without her. You wanted me to fail, but I didn't. I'm still standing. You tried to break me, and all you did was make me stronger. She didn't say anything, just stared at me, face tightening. Then quiet, you're not enough for them. I smiled. Not kind, not cruel, just done. You don't get to decide that. She turned and walked out without another word. I stood there for a long time, staring at the door after it closed, waiting to feel something besides rage. I didn't, not right away. But that night I got a text. Margaret. First I'd heard from her in nearly 4 months. Just one line. I'm sorry. That was it. No explanation, no elaboration. No how are they, no can I see them, no I miss you, just sorry. I stared at it for an hour, let the screen dim, tapped it awake again, read it over and over until the words stopped meaning anything. Oh, and then I deleted it. Not because I didn't want her to be sorry, but because sorry doesn't clean bottles at 3 a.m. Sorry doesn't hold a baby while she teething and screaming and burning up with fever. Sorry doesn't show up. I do. Every day. And that matters more than any apology she'll ever send from whatever life she chose over us. That night I held both kids on the couch. Owen curled into my side, Ellie asleep on my chest. Some old rerun played on mute. I couldn't hear it anyway, just the rhythm of their breathing, the sound of the heater humming through the vents. The past had come back, but it didn't own me anymore. Eyes looked it in the eye, and I hadn't blinked. It's funny what you start to notice when your life stops being about survival. Not all at once. It doesn't happen like a sunrise, all golden and obvious. It's more like a slow leak letting the pressure out. You don't even know the air, getting easier to breathe until one morning you wake up and your chest doesn't feel like it's caved in. It happened on a Tuesday, the same kind of gray, forgettable Tuesday that started this whole unraveling. I was up before the kids, which never happens. I remember I just stood there in the kitchen, blinking at the silence, wondering what was missing. Then I realized I had slept a full 6 hours. No cries, no bottles, no nightmares. I'm just asleep. And in the quiet, I made coffee. I didn't even like coffee before Margaret left, not really. She used to drink it black with this tiny twist of lemon rind, something she read in Bon Appetit or maybe from her mom, who always acted like everything had to be elevated, even caffeine. I'd drink what she made just to feel close to her. After she left, I hated the smell of it. It was like grief in a cup. But now, I don't know, I guess it was mine again. The bobbies stirred while I poured it. Ellie first, her little whimper just a notch above a whisper. Then Owen, grumbling like an old man waking up to find the heat turned off. I padded into their room, took a breath, and smiled. It wasn't a big smile, not a wow everything's great kind of thing, just a soft tug at the corners of my mouth. A quiet acknowledgement that somehow, someway we were still here, still going. I picked them up one by one, holding them against my chest like anchors. My shirt soaked up their sleep-warm skin, their tiny fingers tangled in the collar. They didn't know what we'd been through, not really. All they knew was that I showed up every day without fail. That was enough for them. And maybe, just maybe, it was starting to be enough for me too. Ray still visited. She brought books for the kids and coffee, and sometimes she stayed long enough for me to take a shower without rushing. She never pushed, never asked too much. She just was, which after everything felt like a goddamn miracle. We didn't talk about the segment much anymore. People still messaged me sometimes, other single dads mostly, some moms, some people who just saw something in my story that made them feel less alone. I didn't have answers for them, but I always responded. I think we're all just trying to be seen, to not disappear when life guts us. I started writing again. Not songs, those felt too far away still, but thoughts, scribbles, half-memories and little stories about the kids, about what it felt like to hold both of them during a thunderstorm, about how Owen sticks his tongue out when he concentrates, about how Ellie stares at the sky like it's telling her secrets I'll never hear. It helped not in some cheesy, therapeutic way, but in a this is mine now kind of way, this life, this mess, this rebuilt, ragged, holy mess. I didn't hear from Margaret again. Not after the text, not on the twins' first birthday, not even when Ellie had a minor allergic reaction and we had to rush to urgent care. I sent her the medical paperwork because I'm not cruel, she never responded. I don't know where she is now, I don't ask. I stopped Googling her name, stopped checking mutual friends' pages to see if she popped up in the background of someone's brunch photo. She became quiet. And the thing is, I don't miss her, not anymore. What I miss, what I grieved, was the version of her I built in my head. The girl who held both Bobbies at once while singing off-key lullabies. The girl who used to rest her forehead against mine while the bottle warmed, both of us barely awake, whispering, I don't know how we're doing this, but we are. That girl is gone. And maybe she never really existed the way I thought she did. What's real is this: I didn't break. Not when she left, not when her mother came swinging, not when the house went quiet or the food ran low or the days blurred into one long scream. Oh, I didn't break. I bent hard. I shattered in places and taped myself back together with baby wipes and coffee filters and the thinnest threads of hope, but I didn't leave. I stayed. I still stay. Every bath time, every meltdown, every quiet moment on the couch with a kid on each arm, the weight of their tiny bodies grounding me to this world I never chose but wouldn't trade for anything. And in this stillness, in this slow, imperfect rebuild, I've started to remember who I was before all of it, not the man she married, not the man she left. Mommy. The man who sings softly to his children when the world feels loud, who cries sometimes after they fall asleep and doesn't hide from it, who's learning to hold joy and grief in the same hand without squeezing either to death. This life isn't shiny, but it's real, and it's mine, and for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough.